I still look at it in the back of my head. Oh, what's the last thing I picked up? Oh, yeah. Fuck you, Christopher Columbus. I don't know why this man is celebrated. And before I go into rant, Christian, I need you to stop me right now. Ugh. I got a new trailer for you guys. It just came out, I think, in the beginning of this week or late last week. So let's go ahead and play that, and then we'll get back with you guys with our thoughts.
How did we become so goddamn non-existent? Because if you don't see yourself represented outside of yourself, you just feel fucking invisible.
John Leguizamo's Latin, why am I already blanking out on the name?
Hold on.
Latin History for Morons just came out earlier this week. Christian, you hit me up and you're like, Miles, listen, I got to talk to you. This thing is really important. I think you should really watch it. It's going to kind of blow your mind. And maybe, I don't know, it's one of those things because, you know, you and I are from Spanish Latin descent, Mr. Torres. You know, this was something that kind of hit me close to home. And for people who don't know exactly what was happening in that trailer, we got John Leguizamo, who did this Broadway show, right? Was this only in the past year, or is he still doing this, Christian? But he... No. Go ahead.
I think he's going on tour with it now, but I was lucky enough to see it on Broadway last year. It was like a limited engagement, and I got tickets for it. And I like him as a person because as Puerto Ricans, we have like 3 people in the world that we can identify with in the public.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting the show to be as intense as it was. And I also didn't know they were going to release it on Netflix. So when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, let me make you watch it. So the basic premise of it is his son has to do a report on a Latin hero of his, and he doesn't really have any. Like, he's got like Cesar Chavez, he's got all of those people, but he doesn't know because largely, like, Spanish people are written out of history. And the entire point of the show is to kind of go back to Spanish contact, European contact with our indigenous people, right? So I'm Puerto Rican. We had Tainos in our island, and then the Spanish came and they fucked it all up. And then they talk about the Incas and the Aztecs and the American Indians and all that stuff. But for me, it's a huge thing because, again, it's like I do feel underrepresented in history. We know about George Washington. We know about a countless amount of white people, and they did great things and terrible things alike. But it's one of those things where we don't have a lot of stories about Spanish people. And what this does is kind of recontextualize our role in history and how we've fought in every single war since the Revolutionary War. 1 in 5 soldiers was of Spanish descent. It's a really important thing. And it was one of those things where, like, I was shook by the story of it. Miles, at this point, I kind of want to turn it over to you because, I did call you and I ranted and I raved about it. And I was worried you might not like it. But how did you feel from a personal perspective when you watched the show?
You know, it was one of those things I'm like, okay, what is Christian going to have me sit down and do in terms of homework for the week? So you sit down, and again, I'm not sure if this resonates with everyone, but this was John Leguizamo. You know, I like him as an actor too. And of course, just right away, it kind of grabs me because, you know, he starts off with the story, right? That you're saying his son is writing like an assignment where he has to talk about heroes. And then we think about like, oh, how many like Latin heroes are there, you know? And then he kind of breaks down throughout the stand-up where it's very funny. He kind of spits lots of knowledge on you. And when you kind of find out a lot of this stuff within this special on Netflix, and it's about 90 minutes, so it's not too long. I would say if the first 20 minutes don't grab you, don't watch it. But for those of you interested, I would say the first 5 minutes will immediately grab you. And he kind of goes on with the history of yours that you were saying, how like, you know, lots of, you know, Latinos were involved in like every major war that America has had, you know, everything that America is so great in. You know, if we're just thinking about minorities being misrepresented, if you just think it's only, you know, other nations besides Hispanics, you know, John Leguizamo tells you otherwise. And he spits all this knowledge at you, and it's kind of mind-blowing, and it kind of opens your eyes. And, you know, by the end of it, you kind of feel really good about yourself, you know, if you're of Latin, you know, descent. And
yeah, man. And let me just jump in for 1 second because that's the most important part. There's a part where he gets to it and he's like, can you imagine how the rest of the world would feel about us if they knew this history? More importantly, can you imagine how we would feel about ourselves if we knew that history? And that fucking hit me hard, man, you know, because I think that that's the problem. Like, we're constantly told by his history and by, you know, people in power who try to legislate against us and blah, 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 blah. But it was a really important moment for me. And like, I've always been proud to be Spanish and Puerto Rican and blah, 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 blah. But to hear that history, it was a history that hasn't been told because it's not a convenient one. Yeah. So for everyone. You don't have to be Spanish to be affected by it. I think it's a really wonderful special, but it'll make you understand your Spanish people a little bit more. It's 90 minutes and it's really important to me. So if nothing else, check it out for that reason. Do you have any final thoughts, Miles? I don't want to take too much time on this.
Yeah, listen, why the fuck are we celebrating Columbus Day? Because
right?
Because after this, no. That's something I'm going to fight someone on. Whether it's the YouTube comments or the children of the toast, he spits some knowledge on you when you watch this. And you're like, Christopher Columbus, right? Now let's go back in time, right? Let's go back in time when we were in school, right? U.S. History 101. Here's me. Here's Mr. Torres. We got some other people here. And then we talk about Christopher Columbus, how he was so great and he did this and he jerked that person off and he ate all that shit. When I'm watching this, I'm like, wow, not only did he not set foot in America, that's not the reason on why I hate him. You end up finding out, I'm going to fucking say it, he's just as bad as fucking Hitler to me. I fucking hate this guy. As a matter of fact, I don't know why we're celebrating him. And when I watched this special, the only thing that I came out of it was that, wow, I feel really proud of who the hell I am. I've always been that way, but more importantly, we got to work twice as hard. And, we always got to be the better person, right? I have no problem with that. I've been raised that way, but I still look at it in the back of my head. Oh, what's the last thing I picked up? Oh, yeah. Fuck you, Christopher Columbus. I don't know why this man is celebrated. And before I go into rant, Christian, I need you to stop me right now.
Yeah, you're great. Everything's fine. It's a really important special. It's wonderful. Please fucking watch it because I would love to talk about it. And also, it's rare to have a piece of art really touch you. You know what I mean? And this one did.
Next up, we're going to be talking about House of Cards. So we got the trailer here starring Claire Underwood. Christian, how many episodes have you seen? Because I've seen 3 episodes right now, and let me tell you, I've seen the previous seasons 1 and 2, saw some of 3, and then I kind of fell off, not because I hated the show, but because, I don't know, I just fell off of it. It never was, it never piqued my interest as much, and I just kind of fell off from the show. But that being said, now with this new season, I am liking everything that I'm witnessing here. I think with there only being 8 episodes, they're more or less cutting out and trimming the fat, or from what I've seen from the show so far. And I'm liking where this story's going to end because we know it's the final season. So what are your initial reactions on House of Cards?
I don't love it, to be honest. I mean, I really love her. I think she's really great. But it's stuck between these two tones, and it's almost like it feels magical realist in a way that I don't like. And that's weird because I have a comic that's a magical realist Western and I should be all about that shit. But little things like the bird being in the wall and from one second to another, you're not really sure what tone it's trying to do. Now, having said that, there are moments in both episodes that I saw that I loved, right? Like everything with Doug is great. I think episode 2 ends, if I might be messing it up, with Doug and Claire talking. And you have this idea of where the show can go. But it's doing a couple things. It's in previous seasons, whenever you get this weird flashback to something that Frank was doing, or in his subconscious, it was a little bit more subtle, a little bit more nuanced. It seems really jarring in this season. But I know you really loved it, so I'm really curious to hear what you had to say. I don't mean to step on your toes, man.
No. You know what it is? I think I just don't see that many framing devices, and I don't know why it's now Deadpool for me that's kind of breaking the fourth wall. But I kind of miss how House of Cards was just that show for me that, hey, Claire has to remind you, even while the episode is going on, things are happening, and they're like, this bitch. I love how they just kind of go on that. She constantly breaks the fourth wall just to kind of fill you in. And I like how, again, I haven't seen season 5, so someone please educate me, how she goes on to say in the first episode of season 6, minor spoilers, it's like, oh yeah, Frank is gone. What do you think happened? I mean, let's be real. You want to know what happened, right? Wink, and then continue on with the episode. I kind of like that, tongue-in-cheek stuff that they throw in there. And I think Claire Underwood, Robin Wright, just plays a phenomenal job as a Madam President. And I just love how just in these 8 episodes that we're getting, and I'm just in the middle of the 3rd episode, right away, listen, I don't know what her husband did in the previous seasons, but right now it's her against the entire world. It seems like she barely has anyone supporting her or allying with her. And the person that she's most trusted with is, one of her friends that she grew up with. But of course, that female is the husband of this person who wants to take Madam President down. So it's a nice relationship where even her childhood friend who hates her and loves her at the same time is trying to wish the best and the worst against her, while Claire's all on her own. And I think that's what I totally dig with this season of House of Cards.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, it's interesting. And you're talking about Diane Lane and Greg Kinnear, and they joined the cast this year, and like they're really good. I don't know, man. It's stuck between a couple different tones, and I'm interested to see how they play it out, because it's set up right now to end like a fucking Shakespearean tragedy, man. Which would be especially tragic because it's like Claire's not innocent, but this show has been about Frank's sins, doing terrible things, like progressively terrible things. If she's the only one who has to suffer for it, like that's horrible. You know what I mean? And I know that within the first 2 episodes, they're trying to say like a man like Francis doesn't just die. It's too convenient, right? Like someone had to have taken him out. So they've made it a central mystery. But at the same time, it just seems like, she's going to go down. Like I don't see her getting out of it. But yeah, it's just me, dude. I'm glad you're liking it. I'm obviously going to watch the rest of it because I think it's the end of an era. This was the show that started all shows in terms of the streaming service. So yeah, man, I'm excited about it. You wanna give them some final thoughts on your House of Cards?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about it. You're right. House of Cards was, I will say, right? I think we can, many of us can agree that this was the show that made Netflix a real thing, right? And like, oh shit, I think I want to jump on this Netflix because we get shows like House of Cards, and where else am I going to see something like that? And kind of with the history and controversy revolving around the show, I feel like just for me, I kind of want to pay it respects to see where the show is going to go off, even despite everything happening, because I do like Robin Wright. I do like the supporting cast. I love everything happening. And let me go ahead and find the clip right here. Oh my God, baby girl, you are so fine. Jesus Christ. They have episodes in here where I'm looking at her. I'm like, God damn, she is looking so good. And of course, because that's where my mind is at, Christian, all the time. Of course, I'm going to keep on watching more of this for this actress. What's her name again?
Diane Lane.
Oh my God, she is sexy. Holla at your boy. What's in the box? DTmerch.com. I don't have anything yet, but look out for that soon. Anyway.
You obviously have a type, Miles, and it is like 47-year-old women in fucking pencil skirts. That's obviously your fucking type, dude.
Oh, man. But on a serious note, you're right. Because there's only 8 episodes, and this is something else I actually kind of want to commend the next story we'll be talking about here in a second. And maybe there isn't that much storytelling left, but I like knowing there's only 8 episodes left, and it seems like where I'm at by the end of the 3rd episode, they're trying to progress this story really quick. And you're right, there's nothing that I see here but a Shakespearean ending for Madam President here. And where is it going to go? How's it going to end? And I think that was really my criticisms with House of Cards in the past, is how fast they made why am I blanking out on his name? Kevin Spacey. How fast they led him to that president role, right? Because he was vice president at the end of season 1, or he was already there. So I'm like, right. Whoa. This whole setup is happening too fast. Where the hell is it going to go? Again, very enjoyable if there was maybe 3 or 4 seasons, but if we're on season 6, again, I didn't see half of season 3, 4, and 5. Where did this show stagnate, and where did this show become a monster hit of a show for Netflix? So for them to kind of bring it back full circle, once again for me, and where we're at with it, I kind of want to pay it respect. I want to see where it goes, and I'm enjoying everything this show has to offer. So, any last thoughts, Christian?
No, just that the toasties are making fun of you for wanting to bang Superman's mom. So, there's that.
Oh, okay. Let's go on to the next story. We have our boy Rob Stark, who's this fucking secret agent badass. I know the Ruthless Wonder and Christian talked about it while I was gone. So let's go ahead and play the trailer one more time for those of you who don't know what Netflix's Bodyguard is all about, and we'll be right back with our review on the show.
Stay down. It's okay.
right, so that was Bodyguard. It came out October 24th, so I am a little late to the party with this, but when I was looking the show up, man, Christian, let me go ahead and just kind of jump into my reviews and my initial reactions. I'm digging this. I am digging this a lot. And you know what? I think the actor's name is Richard Madden.
Yeah, Richard Madden.
Yeah, Richard Madden. It's just so great to see his face because, of course, when the last image of him is him getting stabbed and, him having one of the most horrific deaths of TV history out there, it is good to see him be back, be a badass, and kind of doing his thing in this role of Bodyguard, which is Netflix's show here, which I would say it's a mix of a spy espionage thing, right, with some military things happening. With the character, and right away in this show, man, the first 20 minutes, I don't know about you, but can we please talk about that train scene, how intense that was?
Yeah, I ranted and I raved about it when I hosted a couple weeks back, but it's like they give you no context, bro. They're just like, here's this guy, he's with his kids, and we're just going to watch 20 minutes of a scene unfold, and like you're learning information as he learns information. Like you, the audience, is basically seeing the world through his POV. It's riveting, man. It's like, it's incredible. And again, they give you no context about who he is or any of that. All of that gets revealed in due time. It all takes place in real time. So it's 20 minutes on this train. It's a 20-minute scene. I loved it, man. I love this whole fucking show. And to be honest, man, there's a set piece in episode 2 that like changed the game for me. And I said this when I hosted the show, but I'll say it again. This is the case for this guy to take over for Bond. And I never thought I would say this, man. But you know what scene I'm talking about, right? There's an assassination attempt scene.
Yeah.
This dude fucking, it was almost like the Raid, right? Like, guy's just gonna fucking go up a building by himself and just destroy everyone. It's like a Mortal Kombat like ladder tournament, man. It was incredible. Loved it.
No. It was really great. And you know what I love too, and I don't want to spoil the scene for those of you who haven't seen it, but there's a point in episodes 2. It kind of reminded me of the scene of Haunting of Hill House, where episode 8, and I'm not going to reveal what happened, would just kind of threw you off. There's one moment in Haunting of Hill House where you're like, what the fuck was that? There's a moment in this episode, Bodyguard episode 2, where they kind of emphasize, like, let's just say some shooting. But one thing I never thought about, and I haven't seen so many of, the Mission Impossible Bourne films, and maybe they've done this, so I don't know. I want people to correct me if they have shown this. Whenever you just kind of see like an assassination attempt, and, you kind of see the blood, and you're like, oh my God, they got the blood, right? They just emphasize on one of the characters in Bodyguard where they're like, no, this person died. The blood is splattered all over my face, and they're not getting the reaction of you looking at the dead person. They're getting the reaction of me wiping off the guts off my goddamn face. And I'm like, okay, can we just kind of process what the fuck is on my body right now? Because this is gross. This is disgusting. And I never thought about it until I saw this show where I'm like, I don't know how I would react if I was that character. This is like, I'm like with her in her head, where I'm like, oh my God. This is a situation for me to rightfully so be freaked out about, but I don't have time to process what's happening here because people are trying to kill me out there, and I thought all that played beautifully. Christian, what do you think?
No, man, I mean, that's the point. It really nails everything. And I think it's even just the tone, because even when things are just happening, right, it has this tone where like every scene, something bad could happen. So you watch it just being like, oh shit, is this the scene? Oh, thank God, nothing bad happened. Wait, is this the scene? Okay, nothing bad happened. And then, of course, eventually something terrible happens. And just like a proper espionage film or, TV show, the twists and turns, like allegiances keep changing. You don't know why people are making certain actions. What do they know? In that regard, it's damn near perfect, man. And I also love that we live in a world where I did not hear about this until 2 days before it came out. Mm-hmm. Like peak TV is a real thing, man. But this is such a quality show that you people haven't heard of. A couple people have. I know Marcus has. I know Dolimo has. But it's I can't recommend it enough. It's so good, man. And it's so singular in its tone. And just there's a scene there where there's like a terrorist attack in a truck and they just film it. And it just, weren't you like freaked out during that whole scene, man? Where the truck's getting close to the gates and the officers are shooting on it. It's something we see all the time, but they just do it in such a new and engaging way.
No, absolutely. And here's the other thing, and this is why I wanted to emphasize and talk about this show with you and just for everyone out there. This is only 6 episodes. So it seems like, with this becoming a Netflix original, we know kind of Netflix's ratio here with like good stuff and bad stuff in terms of TV or even films. It's pretty much even, I would say, right? Maybe slightly more hits than bad, but nevertheless, I think Netflix is learning, even with Richard Madden's role in this show, that, listen, there's only 6 episodes. They're hour pieces. I feel like whatever story they're telling, and I just finished the 2nd episode, it's going fast. It's super fast paced for me. The parts that are slow, I'm emphasizing with Richard Madden's character, or I'm emphasizing with the other supporting cast, and I'm in it already, so please, I implore each and every one of you, if you're into that whole spy espionage Bourne type of stuff, go ahead and watch this. I think this is great. This is amazing television, and there's someone Richard Madden is protecting, like one of her associates or whatever, and they keep on calling him Rob because that's the character's name, and I'm thinking here, come on. Do you have to say Rob all the time? Because every time I see Richard Madden, I always think of Rob Stark. And there's a moment where they're like, Richard Madden has a scene where they're like, Richard, James, I think is his name on the show. And they're like, James, are you okay? And there's this moment where he just kind of like looks down, right, as he's like shaking the person's hands and then looks up. And I swear he was thinking about the Red Wedding. He had hot flashes on that.
He had PTSD like his character, but instead it was about the Red Wedding.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you okay? He's like, shit. Yeah.